So Ed, looks like you got a slightly different setup on this Flathead Ford.
Yeah, a little bit. This is a customer of mine.
Uh-huh.
And I went up to his house in a 41 Ford, two-door sedan. I went to his house some time ago, about 15 miles north of here. And it had he wanted me to come to look at it. So one Saturday I drove up there and it had a bad vibration, really bad, and a miss. And it starts to run through it. So he had done all this, put the manifold on, the carburetors himself. And I think he's older than I am. He's probably almost 90, but looks like he's 60.
Oh, yeah.
He's really in good shape. And he has some other things in his garage at home. Really a nice setup.
Uh-huh.
But I went up and looked at this car, and I says, I ran it. It vibrated so bad you couldn't hardly run it. And a mist in it and stuff. So I said, stop what you're doing. Don't run it. It'll come apart. So in the meantime, he's taken the car. This is about a year ago I looked at it. He's taking it over to somebody, and they're putting a different axle Mustang front end under a 9-inch rear end. Well, they got the fenders off. They took the motor out, and he brought it to me.
I see.
So, okay, now we're going to fix it. So when I took it and got it here, this is the way it was. I took the clutch off of it, and it's laying on the bench there. I thought the only thing that can make this vibrate that much is the clutch out of balance or something, not necessarily the motor, because it did shake a lot.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, I took the clutch off of it. So I just got the flywheel. And he had a power brake hooked into the back carburetor here. And he also had all 3 carburetors hooked together. And I disagree with that. He said he has the linkage progressive, but he hooked them up straight.
Okay.
So the other day I messed with it, and he has a good distributor in it, aftermarket distributor,
Yep.
electronic,
Uh-huh.
everything.
Right.
So I didn't do anything.
So
I says, I checked compression on it, it's got good compression. So
Yeah.
why has it got a miss in it that bad? And why does it shake? So then he had the oil filter plugged into it, and he teed into the oil pressure and ran it through a filter and dumped it back in the oil pan like the original Ford did.
Which doesn't do much.
Robbed half the oil pressure.
Okay.
Because half the oil pressure was in the motor bearings,
Mm.
and the other, some of it went in the filter and then dumped in the pan. It was not a pressurized system.
Right.
So he was robbing the oil pressure off the motor. So I unhooked all that stuff.
Yep.
And we don't need that. So I hooked it up direct.
Okay.
And I said, I'm going to find out what's, so I started this motor up,
Okay.
adjusted it up to find out what's wrong with it before I tore it apart.
Yeah. Okay.
And I have no idea what the bore and stroke is in or anything else, but definitely was in a 41 Ford.
Okay.
So this is a 49 to 53 motor.
Right.
So we know somebody did something to the motor way before when he bought the car.
It's not the original motor, that's
not
for
the
sure.
original motor.
Right.
So in the meantime, I did a few things to it,
Okay.
and we're going to start it up and run it.
Okay.
It runs so perfect after I adjusted the carburetors.
No kidding.
Yeah. I only have fuel in one carburetor.
Okay, so you're just using the middle.
Middle one, only fuel in it.
Okay.
In the end 2 carburetors, I set the throttles and closed the throttles totally
Okay.
as much as I could. You still get a little couple inches of vacuum on them. You can't stop that unless I would machine the throttle blades. Spent more time
Right.
messing with the throttle blades. I could probably get that down a little bit more.
Okay.
So, and we started running. Now it's got 60 pounds of oil pressure,
Wow.
and it runs perfect. Starts up. I did not do anything with ignition. I haven't set the timing or anything. Just the carburetors, and unhook the filter. So we'll start it up.
Okay.
Okay. And it starts pretty hard
Yeah.
on a cold morning like this.
Okay.
So, yeah, you can get closer with it. A quarter
Wait a
turn.
minute, I didn't hear it crank at all.
No, a quarter turn is enough to start a flathead.
Wow.
There's no reason to crank it. And plus this, I credit a lot of this to the carburetor, the center carburetor, and the distributor. This distributor has an advance in it,
Okay, right.
like the ones we put Chevrolet distributors in.
Mm-hmm.
This happens to be a 94, Stromberg's, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll start up and run a little bit. It don't vibrate at all.
Oh, it's smooth.
And I don't know if you have noise or anything.
That is nice. Wow,
It's
Ed.
just perfect. Oil pressure's up like it's supposed to be instead of robbing that filter. So we're done with the motor. The only thing we're going to do now, I talked to the customer, we're going to put a T5 Chevy transmission behind it,
Okay.
a 5-speed.
All right.
So now we're not going to use that clutch.
Okay.
I'm sure the clutch vibrated,
Right.
completely out of balance. So we're going to start with a new clutch, and I'll balance that up on a different crankshaft. We'll put that on here and put that whole adapter. We'll assemble that whole assembly before he puts it in the car out there. We might have to do some machine work or a little bit of something, but
Right.
we'll get it all done before he puts it back in the car.
But he's got to be so happy that this thing is running like this with some minor tweaks.
Some
really.
minor tweak and little tune-ups.
Yeah. Wow. So now, what's the plan for these carburetors? Are you going to leave two
I'm going to
blocks
hook
off
them up.
or what?
No, we're going to hook them back up.
Okay.
Yeah. So there'll be progressive linkage. So to run on the center one until you get going somewhere, maybe a third or something, and then you can open them up and they'll work perfect.
Yeah.
That'd be like a tri-power on any new car or anything. And this starts in the morning without messing around with it and stuff. And
Right.
so it's, yeah, it's really
Wow,
that'd
that
be
is
a nice motor.
What a nice setup.
Yeah.
Man, that sounds so good. I know these microphones can never quite capture the sound. It's just,
I know.
it's incredible. It really is. And also it smells good.
Yeah. And we're going to change the oil pan.
Okay.
So I think it's got a truck pan on it. We don't like that.
Okay.
So, and Monday he'll bring me some parts and we'll get doing the transmission and balance the clutch and stuff and make it bright. Yeah. It's
Excellent.
really a good
So
motor.
it's not going to be long and you're going to have it out the door.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And the guy that has the chassis doing the chassis work, putting the Mustang front end and stuff in it. I'm sure he wants the motor back, and we'll get it back to him here within a week or something.
Yeah.
We'll be all done. Yeah.
Wow, that is a real treat to hear
Yeah.
that thing going.
You know, I don't expect to work on them all the time, but I do like to do a little diagnosis and do a little tune-up here and get it to run really well.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with it too, because I didn't come to work today to tear the engine apart and try to fix it, but we could.
Yeah, it's just some light things.
Yeah, so a little, yeah, yeah.
That's fantastic.
So it's really good.
Can we look at that clutch to see what was wrong with it?
Yeah, it's got some things wrong with it. One of the fingers is wore out.
Oh.
If you want to look at it.
Yeah, why
I
not?
have no idea what's.
Well, let's have a look. You never know. Okay, so what's happening?
We've
with this
talked
clutch?
about these clutches before.
Yeah.
On our 7 or things there. And of course, we're not going to use this Ford disc anymore because the new one, even though it looks like a new disc, but the new disc will be for a T5, so it'll have a Chevrolet spines in
It'll
it.
be different, yeah.
And this clutch is probably different too. But this finger here on this thing is completely wore.
Oh, wow, look at that.
Yeah, it's all wore down
It sure is.
compared to the other ones. And then when you put these together, you basically have to put this on a flywheel and torque it around and make sure these are all the same height exactly.
So maybe someone missed that step.
They might have missed that step. But I think this is what's wrong with it, why it vibrated so much. It shook so much, I told him not to drive it. That's how bad it shook. And that's not uncommon for these to be way out of balance.
You know, I was just reviewing the story on a previous video. You talked about that Angela that flew apart on you.
Yes, yeah.
Where if the clutch is out of balance, man, a lot of bad things can happen.
And a lot of things can happen, yeah.
Yeah.
Even in my travels, even I had a high school friend that had a stock, I think it was a 312 Ford or something, a single 4-barrel or less, and his clutch blew up and put a hole in the hood and everything else. Original motor.
Wow.
So it don't have to be a high performance motor, but if it's anything out of balance, anything, it'll come apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will come apart.
Wow.
So
Okay, so
we're not going to use this, I don't think, because he bought a whole kit.
okay, so you could get the whole package.
And we'll see what he's going to bring in, and
Okay.
we'll balance that all
Excellent.
Yeah, good.
Well, we saved the day.
Yeah.
And this engine's going to live a happy life with a new 5-speed behind it.
Yeah. Very nice.
It is. Man, that thing.
He does have, you still.
Yeah, I'm still
He
rolling.
still does have, I noticed, and I'll have to talk to him. He has thermostats in here.
Oh, huh.
And I don't understand quite the, I don't know what kind of thermostat, but I'll talk to him before I take him out. Because I would, and the flatheads overheat anyways. Have a heating problem because the exhaust is so close to the water pump. The exhaust ports
Right.
are right next to the water pump. And so I wouldn't want to have a 190-degree thermostat in this where it got 190 degrees before it circulated the water.
Right.
So most of my engines, I recommend just leave the thermostats out.
Give
And
it
then
every chance it
while
can
you're
get.
driving down the road, it might get to 150 degrees. I'm driving here in Arizona or something, and still would not have any heating problem. So we'll probably take them out.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I can understand you questioning that choice. That is, and there it is down there. You can see it.
Yeah.
Huh. Excellent.